Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last recap video of the candidates, and this last round was all about the encounter between Ding, Liren and Hikaru Nakamura, since this was the game that decided the fate of the second place that is ever so important now, because we are still in limbo. We still don't know whether Magnus Carlsen is going to defend his title or not, and should he choose not to, then whoever comes second in the candidates is going to be the opponent, of Jan Nepomniachtchi, who already has won the tournament. So the situation was actually as clear as it could be. Ding Liren behind the white pieces needed a win to come second, whereas Hikaru needed a draw or a win in order to come clear second. And let's see what happened in this game. The opening was the Tarash, which is actually an opening that regained popularity in the 21st century, and it is now a very trendy way to indeed play for equality, God forbid even a draw with black. And A3 is actually the very line that I'm also recommending in my beginner d4 chessable course. In fact, the position that occurred on the board was quite similar to one of my recommended lines there, although I did analyze a position with the bishop on A7, but there are quite a few similarities in the position regardless of the bishop's retreat. A symmetrical position has occurred where white has obviously an extra tempo, and the bishop on d3 is marginally better placed than its counterpart on e7, whereas the two bishops obviously on the long diagonal more or less cancel each other out. And usually in the Tarash, this d3 bishop is used by white to play knight e4, allowing the trade of these two pieces, which then means that now this bishop is vastly superior to this due to the long diagonal pin, and also this bishop shoots, actually let's not make that red, fires along the diagonal undisturbed, whereas there is a bit of a pin situation down here. All this being said, the position remains completely equal, although it is definitely easier to play with the white pieces. Now, at this point, I took it 100% guaranteed that Hikaru was going to secure the so badly desired draw, and he will come second. However, things took a very interesting turn after a couple of very logical moves. Once again, all these trading ideas are to secure an equal position, a draw, and Hikaru is doing a stellar job of that, easily holding the position, and Ding Liren is just, playing moves, so to speak, but having not really any clear-cut plan in terms of accomplishing anything spectacular. Bishop d6, counterattacking the pawn on e5 to respond to the hanging pawn on h5. Coming back, that is already a repetition there that Hikaru actually could have taken with knight f6, but instead went bishop h4, which is also completely fine. Drop back to g8, and after g3, bishop g5 and king f1, we have arrived at the crucial position of the game. And unlike yesterday, today I did not watch Hikaru's recap, partly because I felt so sorry for the guy. I didn't want to really, I don't know, I mean, it must be very difficult to make a recap video after something like that, but I don't really know the reason why bishop d8 was played. Long story short, rook d8 seems to hold very easily. The key idea is that although almost certainly black is going to lose this pawn, but on the flip side of the coin, after trading the bishops and losing that pawn, white actually is not going to be a pawn up, because after king d6, the plan of knight f6 and knight takes h5 is entirely unstoppable, thus black equalizing material and the position as well. In fact, I would slightly prefer to be black in those scenarios. So this was, a fairly simple way on their standards, that is, to hold the equality, whereas bishop d8 immediately handed white a huge initiative with rook b7, and all of a sudden all of the black pieces are appallingly placed. The rook is in particular very, very passive and can't move, because that means the immediate loss of this pawn. And I tried to actually play moves here for black, and it turns out that it's extremely difficult, and white has so many easy moves to improve the position. Just to model a few ideas, if you play f4 was played in the game. If you play knight f6, I go bishop d6, and now the pawn push loses immediately to knight d4, f5 drops, g7 drops, it's all over. So from this we can gather that going back with the knight is rather make it rather difficult for black to stay alive. If you go bishop f6, the knight gets trapped. So I then try to go somewhere else with the bishop. Let's go bishop g5, and after king e2 we are in a very curious situation where it almost feels like black is in Zugzwang. Quite amazing stuff. The rook can move because of rook a7. If I go bishop, let's say, you know, go back anywhere, then bishop d6, knight c5, f3 becomes a plan, taking the pawn. That's the other point, by the way, of playing king e2 here, is to defend the e3 pawn, so that after f3 the knight can't take here. So overall, this is just entirely unplayable for black. An extremely sudden change, but to some degree a very logical one, because of course the vast difference between the activity of the rocks, the respective rocks, is just a world of a difference. And unfortunately for Hikaru, after f4 he had another chance here to stay in the game, because apparently here the supremely ugly and inhuman take on f4 followed by take on f4 is actually the best way to play this for a win, which I did not want to believe my eyes when I saw this, with the idea of knight d4, knight h5, pawn f5, and then just casually marching the king up. And again, the activity between the white and black pieces is going to decide the fate of the game. I mean, look at this, and then just march your king up all the way. Absolutely amazing stuff. And Ding Liren instead chose what was a far more human move, which was to disallow these double isolated pawns and push past and create a passer. However, here, after f3, there's a really cute motif that actually saves the day for black, and that looks like this. Knight d4, knight e5, guarding the pawn on f3, and when I try to kick the knight out to secure this pawn and thus the king, there comes the cold shower, rook c8, and I can't take the knight because of the back rank mate. I don't know if Hikaru missed this idea or something else, but the point is that now black seems to be surviving without too many dramas. Unfortunately, it wasn't played. Instead, bishop f6 was played, and now Ding Liren just mopped up the rest in style. Neat tactic there. Note that rook takes e4 loses to king f3. And so he went knight e5, knight f5, f3 check, king g3, but now there are just too many pawns to defend. g7 is too weak all the time, f3 is weak, these pawns can be easily targeted, and yeah, it was just a very easy conversion for someone of Ding Liren's level. Yeah, now these two pawns together are mighty powerful. This is still coming. Every single piece, if you compare them, white knight, black knight, white rook, black rook, white bishop, black bishop, every single one of them, kings included, far superior for white. And really, it was just a clean mop-up job in the end. They actually ended up with the c3 bishop getting trapped in no man's land, and after bishop e3, Hikaru suspended any further struggles. The incoming rook a2 is going to win at least an exchange if rook a8 and bishop c1 is played. It's just hopeless to play on. A really tragic game in one sense, and a remarkable effort by another. I suppose that from Hikaru's point of view, it was really, really unfortunate that in this position just played one bad move, and from there on out there was no chance to turn it around. Actually, there was one more chance there with f3, but he couldn't find it, and that was it. Ding Liren converted the game, and so now he ended up second in the candidates, and now obviously the chess world is holding its breath, waiting for Magnus to say yay or nay, which I believe, by the way, is not going to be a wise idea to hold our breath. That is because we will need a few thousand lungs to survive the wait, because in order to, in my opinion, for Magnus to say anything about the meta, he would need, first of all, a FIDE leadership, because FIDE elections are coming up, so he can't make a contract with the current one because there is a new election coming up in a couple of weeks, month, at the Olympiad. And then afterwards they will need to find a sponsor, a venue, yada yada yada, so that he has actually an offer on the table that then he can negotiate or refuse or accept whatever floats his boat. So exciting times for sure in the world of chess. A little bit of uncertainty, but that is always a good script for brainstorming and trying to figure out what may or may not happen. So I'm very excited to see what is going to happen in the world of chess. And now with the candidates over, we are going to go back to my usual content. So yeah, basically what's going to happen now is I'm going to go on a holiday in a few days time. So I have been massively pre-recording videos for you. YouTube is going to continue as usual. Streaming will be off, but yeah, please make sure that you stay tuned, because I've got a lot of really cool YouTube videos already lined up, so content will be here. Take care guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.